Live from Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. This is Roy Kessel for Sports Philanthropy Network, and we're really excited to have with us today Ryan Darcy. Ryan is here as part of the Brain Health Summit at Lee Steinberg's event tomorrow. And Ryan, I know you've been involved in that for a few years, so thank you for taking time to come back on with us.
Yeah,
I'd love
good to
to
see you.
hear,
Good to
love
see
to
you.
hear some of the new ideas that you have. I know this world is progressing really quickly. There's incredible evolution of technologies, of treatment protocols. So take us through a little bit about what you're going to be discussing tomorrow as a preview.
Yeah, absolutely. So when people say the brain, I think largely it's been this mystery, and we've expected it's not really changing. And that's now in today's day and age, and over the last year since I saw you last, it's absolutely moving so quickly. So things in terms of how we can optimize our brain for performance and care for our brain health are just going light speed right now. So it's a really fun topic to talk about.
What's interesting here is, right, we're in Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Almost everything focuses on physical performance.
Yes, it does.
And one of the challenges, as we talk to people, there's an enormous outcry of enormous need for issues relating to mental health.
Right.
And you can't completely separate physical health from mental health. You can't separate the need for mental health from brain health and brain injuries. And one of the things I've always found fascinating is it seems like we know so much about every other part of the body.
Hmm.
We know how to transplant, we know how to fix, we know
Right.
how to repair, and the brain in many respects is still sort of that black box. It's not an entire mystery,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to know if I hit somebody's head a certain way, the reaction you get is still going to be very different.
Yeah. If I'm on a plane and someone says, "What do you do for a living?" and I want to stop the conversation, I'll tell them I'm a neuroscientist. They're like, "Oh, okay." But the reality is that
That wouldn't work with me. You'd be stuck talking
that's
for the
good.
whole
That's good.
flight.
Yeah, that's good. I'd appreciate that. The key thing is the word you said there is performance. So yeah, we're here in Super Bowl, and performance in terms of our body's performance is something every elite athlete knows, right? Elite folks in life, we know how to tune our body to be a performance machine. And what's happened with your brain now is that we're opening up that entire era. So we're having with whether or not it's pro sports or it's military or it's executives or general health, we're saying, okay, you've got this incredibly high powered supercomputer between your ears. What if we could increase the rate that you're processing information by 50 to 100 milliseconds? And that usually captures people in a positive way to say, okay, I want to unlock that black box, right? I want to learn more about how I can get a 100 millisecond processing advantage to find the opening, score the touchdown. And that is actually exactly how we're going in to tackle things like concussions and mental health, because when you optimize your brain, you reduce the risks of mental health or concussions.
Well, and that processing speed, getting that extra speed gives you that advantage because you see what's going on the field faster.
Right.
You can react, you can protect yourself, you
Exactly.
can make a different decision, either throwing the football or which direction you
Right.
run. One of the things that's always interesting to me is the amount of time that's invested into physical training, speed, strength, all of the conditioning elements,
Right.
and how little of that time is spent training people how to gain that 50 to 100 millisecond advantage.
Well, and we don't really realize even how much the timing of how fast we think varies, moment to moment or day to day. Right? We know these things like travel schedule causes sleep deprivation, and that probably slows our ability to think down. But to your point, imagine a quarterback in the pocket. And if you, in medicine, there's this rule of you can't treat what you can't measure. In performance, you can't optimize what you can't measure. So we actually have in the NeuroCatch device a stopwatch for how fast you're thinking. And now what we're doing is exactly what you said. We're looking at, okay, let's get you faster so you can see the opening, connect the pass. But more importantly, you can also miss the hits. And when you miss those hits, you stop yourself from slowing your cognitive thinking speed, and you actually also protect yourself from that one hit that's going to end your career. So it's a really different way of thinking, but it's all about performance.
Well, that might be a dangerous device to have out this weekend on Bourbon Street as people are coming out of the
Yes, it
bars
is.
or waking up the next
Yes, it is.
morning.
Yeah.
But when you talk about training quarterbacks or backing up even into high school and
Right.
youth sports in high school, developing those skills, because one of the things as an outsider, right, as a fan, we all watch the game and we can select this quarterback has an amazing ability to read the field
Right.
quickly, right? Why could Peyton Manning do this? Tom Brady could do this. Aaron Rodgers could do this at a speed that other quarterbacks can't. And they frequently talk about having the game slow down, right? For quarterbacks that have been in the league for 2 or 3 or 4 years, the game starts slowing down. Well, the game doesn't change, right? You're just processing it faster because you're recognizing a pattern
Right.
that's happened over and over, dozens of times, hundreds of times. But shouldn't we be able to teach people to do that with today's technology, virtual reality, other systems that are out there? You would think that you could start training just like people are playing esports and everything else. You should be able to, I would think, from an early age, be able to put me through those simulations. So by the time I'm in high school or college and I'm playing, I'm seeing these patterns. I've seen them hundreds and hundreds of times.
That's actually exactly correct. So technology is disrupting the way we basically take our brain to the brain gym. And this is something that right from basically, elite athletes across sports are really now focusing more on that aspect. One of the in football for sure, one of the pioneers was Tom Brady, right? And what we're seeing now is that with technology, you can go to the brain gym, you can train that ability to read the patterns faster, and you can measure that and also actually optimize it for game time. So now it's not just like combine, how many times can you bench press 225. It's actually how fast, how many milliseconds advantage can you gain over, let's say, your competition in actually finding the opening in the pattern ahead of you and making that turn and converting that into a touchdown.
And it's really comprised of a few things, right? Just like in physical performance, right? You can be fast,
Right.
right? You can be strong.
Right.
You can be both. Because if you're fast and you get to the point of attack, but you're not strong, right? Somebody's going to get you,
Yes.
right? If you're strong but you're not fast, they may not help you. It's the same thing on a mental side. We see people, their reaction time might be really quick, but if they can't process that image of the pattern of what that defensive coverage is or where the tacklers are coming from, it doesn't matter. Like those 100 milliseconds, that's a huge differentiation.
And the interesting thing is, for example, I'm the guy who invented NeuroCatch, right? I invented the brain scanner, and I have scanned myself, and I've thought, oh yeah, I'm fast today. But the subjectivity of what you think is going on versus when we measure your brain waves, your physiology, I've had moments on camera where I thought I was really thinking quick and I got the measurement and I'm like, not thinking as fast as I want, reach out for a cup of coffee. Let's get back into the game. Right. And when there are so many things we can do above and beyond caffeine or Red Bulls or otherwise, we're now looking at things that accelerate your thinking time and stabilize that. So you're consistent from your diet to your sleep, your exercise, to high-end technologies that actually activate your cells and energize them. So these things are coming, right? These are our new world for performance.
So you're saying the beignets is not part of the recommended diet to
Pretty
increase
sure
our.
beignets are not speeding me up. Yes. Yes.
What's interesting,
Neither are cocktails for that matter.
what's interesting, you mentioned sleep a few times,
Yeah.
right? All of the research that I've seen shows how important sleep is. And yet I feel that's one of the most neglected areas of people's understanding. If they saw the graphs and the charts of how rapidly your performance declines for every 15-30 minutes you go below like an 8-hour window,
Mhm.
right? It's dramatic.
Well, and it's one of the lowest hanging fruits, right? When you're competing, you have a travel schedule. And the very earliest thing that happens when you're traveling from city to city and you're going across the country is your sleep takes a hit. And that has a definite impact. We can measure it in brain waves on your cognitive processing ability. So it's one of the fastest ways that you can start to actually demonstrate that you can tune your cognitive just like you tune your physical for peak performance.
So take us through a little bit about NeuroCatch. You talked about it now.
Sure.
Tell people where to get more information about it and how that can help them in their lives.
Yeah, so NeuroCatch is the world's first objective cognitive brain scanner. It measures your brain waves. It's deployed widely across North America and the world. Its premier area has really launched into sports. So football and NBA and NHL hockey and Red Bull ride, mountain bikers, etc. It's also actually being used to optimize special forces in the military, and it's what it's allowing is almost like a blood pressure cuff for your heart. It's a vital sign measure of your cognitive function that you can do quickly. You don't need an expert. It can go right to field side, and it allows you to take an instant snapshot of where exactly your cognitive processing is at this moment in time, and then actually do things to optimize it and speed it up.
Well, and that's what I love because so many of the historical technologies and other things that we've seen have been measurement only.
Right.
I can tell you where you are, but I
Right.
can't tell you how to get from point A to point B.
Right.
I can't tell you what's caused a reduction from point A to point C. And so having something, as you said, that's objective that can help me train my brain or can help my team or organization improve their overall performance, that's critical. You look at the millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars that are invested into the athlete,
Mhm.
right? Talk a little bit about the costs.
Well, the cost, so the idea is to make this accessible and to make it a low cost economic technology. So it's interesting because I always joke that if you want to stress a clinician out, ask them how your brain is doing. Because yes, we can take a high cost MRI to tell you your brain is still between your ears, and yes, we can do subjective testing, right? So we can put you through all sorts of tests that are started on paper and pencil. Now they're on a computer, but effectively they're subjective and they're error prone. And what was missing was an objective, rapid push button measure that just said, okay, here's how fast your supercomputer is processing information. And that, to put that in a low cost way, has been referred to in terms of pro sports and in terms of, special forces and all these peak performance folks as the holy grail. And so that's what our drive is to do with NeuroCatch, is really get that to the hands of everyone who needs it.
Well, Ryan, you filled out one of the cards for our wall of philanthropy.
I did.
And so tell us about what you picked here and we'll put it right up on this corner.
So I put that I'm creating impact for brain health. And what I really want to do is optimize and unleash our brain potential and our brain power. And by doing that, not only do we allow athletes to compete better, but we allow the human race to actually come up with innovative, creative solutions for all the sort of things we're doing. And that's our mission in life.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on
So
with
good
us
to see
today.
you.
We appreciate you and we look
Yeah.
forward to the panels tomorrow.
That sounds good. I'm excited. Come to Lee Steinberg's event. It's going to be amazing.
For Sports Philanthropy Network, this is Roy Kessel signing off live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Please remember to live generously.